Hi, my name is Peter Quinn, and today I'll be giving a presentation titled What's in Your Water? Ever since I was a little kid, my family would take vacations to Florida. I always loved the ocean. I was never scared of sharks or crabs or squids or whales or any marine life at all, other than an occasional jellyfish. I know that if we as human beings let them keep to themselves and we do the same, there's no reason we should fear them. Aside from that, I love seafood, and I would have to put sushi at the top of my personal food chain. One day, we were deep sea fishing out in Florida. We caught a huge mahi mahi, or as some people like to call it, a dolphin fish, which is one of the best tasting fish, in my opinion. We brought it back to the harbor after spending hours out on the water. We cut it open, and it was a sickening sight. There were bobbers from previous fishermen. There was an orange bottle cap and other tiny bits and pieces of plastic that filled the fish's stomach lining. It was disgusting to see, and we had assumed that the men filleting the mahi were just going to throw it away, but they stated that they saw that a lot more than we would have liked to imagine, and most markets don't care whether or not the fish have plastic in them, since you're not paying for the stomach, you're paying for the meat. Now, all I can think about is how much microplastics I've ingested in my life after that because of the fish that I eat. Now, imagine taking a sip of water after your gym class or at lunch or at work. And without even knowing it, you're swallowing tiny pieces of plastic, not big chunks of plastic. They're small. You can't even see them, but they're still there and they're messing with our bodies, our organs, our immune system, even our ability to have kids in the future. And now imagine that it's not just you. Now, don't even imagine it's everyone. Every single day, it's happening all over the world. And as students, we care about what's in our food, what's in our water, and what's happening to our environment. Even if you haven't heard much about microplastics before today, chances are you've already been exposed to them, and it's pretty scary. As a kid, I grew up loving the ocean. My dream was to be a marine biologist, but unfortunately, last time I checked, there's no oceans in Columbia, Missouri. So, therefore, ever since high school, I've been doing my own personal research on this specific topic of microplastic waste in the oceans. And honestly, what I've been continuing to find and learn every time I dive in is shocking. There's a serious problem with how we make and throw away plastic in this country, but the good news is there are real things that we as a country can do about it today. So I today am going to talk about what exactly microplastics are and why they're dangerous, why the US isn't doing enough to prevent microplastic waste, and what we can do to fix it, especially what the government can do to fix it, but also what humans as a whole species can do to fix microplastic waste. So let's start with the basics. What are microplastics? According to the Ocean Conservancy, they're super tiny pieces of plastic, less than 5 millimeters in size. They come from larger plastic things that break down over time, like water bottles, plastic trash bags, candy wrappers, anything you name it. And they end up everywhere, and not just in oceans, they end up in rivers, they end up in the soil. When they're burned, they even end up in the air. According to science.org, at least 1,565 known species across all environments have been found to ingest plastics. Fish, birds, and even mammals happen to ingest them, which is already bad for the animals. But then we tend to ingest those animals. Plastics end up in our bodies too. The World Health Organization says these plastics may cause inflammation, other health problems such as problems with reproductive systems, and scientists are still learning more about the long-term effects. But even what we know is already enough to say that it's pretty clear it's dangerous. Next up, if it's such a big problem, why hasn't the US done more? Yes, in 2015, the FDA banned microbeads, which were the little tiny plastic beads that were used in face wash. I had a bottle of it myself back in the day. But that's just a small part of the problem. Other than that, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration does not have a single law that altogether addresses the issue of microplastic waste in our country. Plastic use keeps going up, and our recycling systems simply are not doing their jobs. Most plastics aren't even recycled, just sits in landfills, or worse, it ends up in the soil, in the oceans, or in the air. Other countries, like ones in Europe, are way ahead of the United States. They've already started banning single-use plastics, and they're making companies take responsibility for the waste that they create. And so it leads to the question, if they can do it, why can't we? Here's what we can do to fix it. First, the US needs to ban or limit single-use plastics, things like plastic bags, plastic water bottles, straws, to-go containers that aren't reusable. These are the main items that turn into microplastics. When other countries have done this, plastic waste went down a lot. Second, the Sustainable Packaging Coalition believes that we need to have a rule called the extended producer responsibility, which is basically, it means that the companies that make the plastic products are responsible for cleaning them up, kind of like what the European countries have done, not just the people using them or the government. People making the mess should be the ones cleaning it up, which makes 100% sense. Third, we need to spend more money on research and education. We obviously need to understand the full impact of microplastics on our health and make sure regular people, uneducated people, can be educated to know what's going on. If more people know how serious this is, there would be more support for change. Now, I want to respond to two arguments that I came across that people make against plastic regulation. First argument being regulating plastic will hurt the economy and cause people to lose their jobs. Now, that might sound true at first, but actually switching to eco-friendly materials and recycling can create new jobs, just in different industries. Such as in Europe, their ban on single plastic use helped boost jobs in making biodegradable and reusable products. Plus, if the government invests in transition, workers can be trained for new jobs in things like recycling, sustainable packaging, or even just simple environmental cleanup. Also, industries like fishing and tourism depend on clean oceans to obviously catch their fish and make their money. So protecting the environment does end up protecting jobs in the long run. A second argument is we don't need government rules. People and companies just make their better choices, which that would be great, obviously. But it's great when people try to reduce their plastic use. But if we're being honest, that's not enough. Voluntary actions, yes, they're helpful, but they don't solve the national problem. Not everyone has access to reusable alternatives, and if it's cheaper, companies won't all follow the same rules unless they're required to. Government regulations would make sure everyone follows the same standards, no matter who you were. For example, the microbead ban that happened in 2015 with the FDA, it worked because it was a law, not because companies randomly just chose to stop using them. Real change requires real rules. So here's the big idea is this isn't just about the planet, it's also about us. It's about our water, our food, our future, the future generations of humans that are to come, and of the environment and of other wildlife that are to come. Although the government isn't putting this at the top of their priority list, there's still many things that we can do as humans to prevent microplastic waste. Number one, pretty obvious, always recycle. And by recycle, I don't mean just throw away your plastic water bottle in the recycle bin after you're finished with it. You can use your plastic trash bags that you get from the grocery store that holds in your groceries. You can use those to line your mini trash cans in your toilets. Instead of throwing them just straight into the trash. Instead of throwing away clothes that are small or clothes that you don't want anymore, you can give them to a homeless shelter, donate them to Goodwill, sell them online. People make art out of recyclable material. I remember in grade school, we had to do make an art project where we had to use plastic water bottles and bottle caps, and it's some pretty cool stuff. I've bought a picture frame of the St. Louis Cardinals logo made out of beer bottles. It's pretty cool. If you go to a restaurant and you order takeout and you know you have utensils at home, don't ask for, a plastic fork and knife and spoon if you're just going to throw them away. Or you can save them if they do still give them to you and you don't need them. Drink water straight from a cup or a glass. You don't need to use a plastic straw or waste a lid. If you can just drink it like that, you don't need to. Or simply just invest in a good water bottle. Another thing you can do is this is a good one, volunteer, obviously. There's not a single nonprofit organization that's going to say no if you want to come in a couple hours a week and just help, pick up a park, pick up trash on the side of the road. If you live by the beach, you can walk up and down the ocean. You'll find trash bags upon trash bags full of waste. You can help the environment while at the same time feeling good about yourself. Because who doesn't feel good about themselves after they volunteer? You can write to your local lawmakers about negative effects of microplastics. After listening to this, you can write to your local lawmaker if you want, and why better recycling methods and limitations on plastic production would be beneficial for everybody, not just humans, but for the environment as a whole. There's so many things you can do as a citizen to help the fight against plastic pollution. And if everyone makes one small change to their lives, it does make a huge impact. Now, the point of this was that the US does need to step up and regulate how we produce and throw away plastic. They're everywhere, hurting animals, the environment, and even humans. We need real government action, banning single-use plastics, making companies clean up their own messes, and educating the public on what's going on. Because next time you drink a glass of water, you shouldn't have to wonder if there's plastic in it. So we should act now, and the future generations won't have to clean up the disaster that we could have prevented. Thank you.